I mean, if there was ever a venue that showed sex, drugs, rock and roll, that was the Cathouse. That movie really, I feel, really kind of showed what the Cathouse was.
Oh, hey, everybody. I want to welcome you back to our latest edition here at Epic Event Center of Behind the Curtain. Joining us on Friday, March 6th at Epic Event Center for an unbelievable evening. We've got Mr. Stevie Rachelle from the legendary band TUFF and Mr. Riki Rachtman, host of Headbangers Ball, owner of the Cathouse. Literally, Mr. Everything on the Sunset Strip. So we've got three guys who know everything of what they're talking about here. Couldn't be more happy to have you all joining us. Welcome, and we look forward to bringing you guys all to Green Bay on March 6th.
I'm excited.
Yeah, these events are so cool. I was lucky enough to host one for the movie Almost Famous, where we did a viewing party and a Q&A and all that. So that I think we got something similar happening here, right? Riki, tell us about this multimedia extravaganza.
Well, and first of all, always good to see you, DJ. I think the world of Don. Don worked on Headbangers Ball for me way before. He's a very, very funny guy. We're in the same field, but we both want each other to succeed. Stevie, I don't give a rat's ass about. No, Stevie on the other hand, was somebody that in the '80s we were almost rivals. Would you agree, Stevie?
I don't know about rivals, but
okay.
we weren't BFFs,
we were
that's for sure.
But then through skateboarding, we became very good friends, and I like Stevie. So, The Metal Years is a movie that it was the first time I was ever in front of a camera, and it was something that chronicalized, which I don't think is a word, the '80s rock scene, and it showed it in a way that was real. Penelope made a way of making the movie sort of like, it's funny in the way of some of it's not funny, some of it's sad, but some of it's real. And you look back and you seem like, wow, this is so long. And to get Stevie, who was in it, and myself that was in it, to talk about that time and stuff like that is really special. And it'll be funny to watch it, in front of people. The last time I saw that movie in front of people was at the premiere at the Cinerama Dome.
Wow. And for people who are not familiar with decline of the Western civilization, the Metal Years specifically, it's the movie that has the famous scene of Chris Holmes from Wasp in a pool in LA, chugging a bottle of vodka while his mom sadly looks on. So that scene will live on forever for both of you guys. And we'll start with Stevie. Did that movie properly capture that time and place in history?
Yeah, I mean, I was only on the scene for a handful of months. I had just joined TUFF in the summer of '87, just had moved there from Wisconsin, from Oshkosh, not very far from where we're going to be at the Epic. And I just became part of the scene. I'm walking out on the strip, I'm flyering, I'm meeting people. And then one day I remember this woman came up to me who was Penelope Spheris and a crew with a camera. And she said, "Hey, I want to interview you." And then at some point, Penelope said, I want to interview you guys in the studio. So all the clips where you see everybody in the room with the light bulb and the guy with the black and white hair and the people that are saying, but I'm going to make it. But I'm going to make it. That part we did at a separate location. So we filmed a couple of clips for it. And it was a great thing. And like Riki just said, I was also at the premiere at the Cinerama Dome. Gene Simmons was there and a lot of the people from the documentary. And again, I'm only in town for months at this point, so it was kind of an eye-opener to suddenly be in this. Then it gets put into theaters the next spring and kind of helped give TUFF a little recognition for sure.
Yeah, but Riki, you were fully ensconced, which I do believe is a word in the scene, and you could chronicleize it. How accurate was that movie to you?
Well, at that time, I was really ensconced in the whole scene in Hollywood at that time. I grew up in Hollywood. I was a delivery boy on a moped when I was younger, but the Cathouse had been going for about a year. I was heavily into drugs and alcohol at that time, And I remember they were going to do something on an upcoming band called Faster Pussycat, which was my roommate Tammy at the time. And then Penelope said, "Hey, we want to shoot something at the Cathouse." And I'm like, "Okay." I never thought. I mean, I'm in two offices right now that all we do. This isn't my home. That all we do is sell Cathouse gear. I never thought the Cathouse would become what it has been. And she said, "Do you want to come in and we'll talk to you about it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And we shot it in the middle of the afternoon. I had been up on meth the night before, was totally drinking, and it's still weird to see me in film, drinking. And we were talking about, with no idea that this would ever see the light of day. And that was the first time I was ever in front of a camera. The next time I was in front of a camera was being on Headbangers Ball, but I had no idea. And Cathouse was a little bit different than the Sunset Strip scene, but we were all still part of it. And it was just, that movie really, I feel, really kind of showed what the Cathouse was, because it was. I mean, if there was ever a venue that showed sex, drugs, rock and roll, and that was the Cathouse. And I think the beauty of it is it shows people like the Stevies, like me, like some of the people in that scene that weren't, Poison was just making it, but showed some of us hustlers. And the one thing that a lot of these people had, much more than I did, was confidence. And of course, 99.9% of those people never did shit, but they had confidence, and we were all such hustlers. And I think it showed that a little bit. And some of the parts that were so funny, like we mentioned the Chris Holmes scene, to me was just like, it was so sad. And some of the stuff that was funny was also sad a little bit.
Yeah.
But it really did show. I mean, I am the one thing that I've said so many times is we did not realize that we were living in an absolute magical time.
I was just going to say the same thing. What we were experiencing.
Just what we did. This is what we did.
Right.
We didn't realize that all these people are going to become some of the biggest bands in the world, and that this scene would be completely dead.
So, Riki, for people, who grew up on the East Coast like I did and wasn't around at the time, talk about some of the bigger bands that became ensconced in the Cathouse who played there live, and chronicleize maybe a band that people would be surprised to hear played the Cathouse.
Well, most people know our house band was Guns N' Roses. Guns N' Roses, Motorhead, Black Crowes. People probably don't know Pearl Jam twice, Alice in Chains. Oh God, I know I'm forgetting so many bands. White Zombie.
Was there a Wang Chung thrown in? Just one
No,
weird
we did.
night?
I had an idea. I said, "Look, guys," because I came up with weird ideas. What if like we just Wang Chung tonight? And they said no, they didn't. So there was no Wang Chung. But there was stuff like the big, and I'm on tour doing my One Foot in the Gutter where I tell these stories. But one of the great stories was that Axl and Vince feud that started at the Cathouse. But what people don't realize is a couple months before, Axl and Vince were on stage at the Cathouse singing. It's like, Alice Cooper on Halloween. Come on. I mean, we had everything, but as I've said before, the bands weren't really what made the Cathouse famous. It was that feeling that when you went there, but everybody played there. I mean,
Yeah.
you name
What
it.
about TUFF? Did TUFF play there?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
No.
Well, correction. We did play the Cathouse, but we didn't play the original Cathouse. We played it when Riki relaunched it at the Martini Lounge, but that was in the 2000s.
So obviously there's a screening of the movie, but even before that, Stevie is going to get up and bust out some of these beloved tunes from that era. What kind of a set list you putting together for that?
So yeah, as far as the set list, I was going back and forth with Paul and Brian, and we were throwing some song ideas around. I'm not going to say what's what yet, but I'm coming into town a day or two early. We're going to go through a little mini rehearsal, and that day we plan on playing a handful of songs. Perhaps a couple of the bands will be represented in the set that were in the decline, including TUFF. So look forward to that, and it's going to be fun.
And I'm very excited. I mean, just the whole idea is we're all gathering to watch a movie and to get two guys that were in the movie to talk about it is I just think is kind of neat. And on my One Foot in the Gutter show, I don't really do Q&As. So if there's questions, we'll be there to answer some questions as well.
Yeah, which is great. And Ricky, something Ricky told me a few years back at your birthday party was, out of all the things that you've done in your career, which has been amazing and very eclectic, Headbangers is still the thing that people recognize you the most for. Now, I have my own theories of why, but for you, why do you think that is?
Because Headbangers was, it was so important because, growing up in Hollywood, it's like, yeah, oh, I'm gonna go see Guns N' Roses, but some of these people didn't get this music. So there were people, and I hear it all the time. It's like, dude, you turned me on to Pantera, dude, you turned me on to Slayer, and you know as well as I do, when people thank us, the same thing happened to you with the metal show, that you were turning people on to music, even though we weren't the ones really doing it. But these people, they didn't have this outlet. So I would come into their house every Saturday night, and here is something from a band that you've never heard of. This is, Testament, and chances are maybe they did, but maybe they didn't, because we did play every genre on Headbangers Ball.
Yep.
And it was the outlet. And I'm very flattered when people say that, you did this, because I feel like, look, I'm just this puppet playing these videos. But it was such an important part to people's youth. And when I was growing up, like, I remember the DJs that we used to listen to, and I remember taping songs off the radio, and that was very, very important. And Headbangers Ball, I was never a rock star. I was never this. I'm just a fan in front of the camera. So when they see me in Europe with Metallica, hopefully they look at me as like them, for better or for worse, that I'm just nothing but a glorified fan. I always have been and still am to this day. So I
Yeah.
think that this was like an outlet that they didn't get that. We didn't have the internet back then.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it there, Ricky. I think people responded to both our shows with that same thing. Like you're just like me and my two buddies on a Saturday night. So, I think that goes a long way. And of course, we know, um, people into metal and hard rock and any kind of heavy music are super loyal. For you, Stevie, doing Tough, man, you're going on 40 years, man, of doing this band. For you, what do you attribute the longevity to?
Well, I guess the word that Ricky used a couple of minutes ago, I guess to some extent I'm a hustler. This industry has been, it's been up and down. I mean, as crazy as the 80s was, when the 90s was ushered in, a lot of what was happening for those 80s bands, it took a dive, and then after a decade or so, it had a resurgence. And Tough, at some point in 95, after three record deals and three managers and three agents and three drummers, I said, hey, we got to put this thing to bed, put it to sleep. And that was in 95. Then in 2000, kind of things started turning around, even with the band Steel Panther, which they weren't called that at the time. They were called Metal Shop, then Metal
Mhm.
School, but they were playing these Monday nights at the Viper Room starting around 2000, and everybody was going out. It was really interesting because they were going over the top. They're wearing all the spandex and all the choreography and just all the goofy kind of stuff that we saw in those videos in 1985 and 86 and 88. And it took on a life of its own. And then Poison did a reunion tour with CC, and little by little, it just seemed like there was more of an acceptance for that style of music again. And I said in 2000, okay, I think I need to put the band back together. And I came up with this idea to take that Kid Rock song, which was based off the Metallica riff, and I wrote the idea, the parody, the lyric for American Hair Band, and I did that in 2000. It was released in early 2001, 25 years ago, and it kind of took off. And at that point, I just started playing shows, and now since the turning of since the millennium, I've played in over 25 countries just in the last 25 years that I had never previously
Wow.
played for with Tough in the heyday. So there's some element of whole new experiences that I've had in the last 20 some years, well after the fact, as a much older man, as opposed to a 20 something kid just starting my life out on the Sunset Strip.
Oh, you still got a baby face. You mentioned hair metal, and a lot of these bands are called hair bands.
Yep.
Ricky, where do you stand on that term?
Stupid. I hate it. Because because I don't care what anybody said. It was a comment that was made up to be derogatory. There was never a band that was on the strip playing hair metal. If you say thrash, that's a great word. If you say, whatever kind of death metal, it's a dark. But hair is like, oh, that means your hair. It's like, no, there were bands like, and I'll just use an example, Cinderella, that were putting out some of the greatest blues rock songs ever. But instead, because they had big hair, they called them hair metal.
We're running out of time here, but the grunge thing coming in and wiping away the glam bands, or maybe it didn't. All right, because you could see Riki right now reacting, but we will save that. We can't do it all here. What I do want to leave on though is so from the heyday, from the mid 80s, Sunset Strip scene to today, what is the most major difference?
We're all 40 years older. So, when we turn on the TV, the news, whatever, it's like I see these bands and I'm like, who are these kids? And I say kids, I mean, like anybody in their 30s is a kid to me and Riki. I'll be 60 in a month. I think Riki's a year or two ahead of me. So the difference is that we're also wiser. We're smarter. We think differently now than we did when we were 20 or 22, and we thought the world was ours. And we never realized, even when there's things that were really happening in a good way, there's money coming in, you're getting a deal, success. At some point, it runs out, and those are the pits and valleys of this industry, the entertainment industry as a whole. You have the highs, the lows, and it can be a challenge. But, today, there's definitely a lot of differences, and I'd say one of them is definitely our age and probably our wisdom.
And Riki, for you, what's the biggest changes?
It's non-existent. The rock and roll scene in Hollywood is a complete ghost town. Hollywood is dead, and there's two reasons. And there's one reason that doesn't get brought up enough. And I think Stevie's going to agree with me a little bit. I think one of the reasons that Hollywood died is when they stopped letting people pass out flyers, because then there wasn't as much congregating from people. But the other reason is, brothers and sisters, people are just damn lazy and they don't want to get up and they don't want to go out. And there's very few places in America where people are going out all the time. My wife is from France. I go to France and you go on a Thursday night and the streets are packed, people going out to dinner, drinking wine, having fun. And people don't do that in America. They're just lazy. And so the last thing they're going to do is go support a new band. And because people don't support new bands, what you've got to do is you got to get a band that's going to make some money. And then the pay to play thing, which was always going on back then, but now that's what it is. The venues don't even care who's playing. They just want people that are going to give them money so they break even, before they even walk in the door. I mean, I'm on tour right now, and sometimes it's hard, especially because people don't really know what I do, to get people to actually get off their asses and to go out. And in Hollywood, I mean, the clubs are barely there anymore. And, when was the last time, Stevie, somebody went to the Sunset Strip just to hang out?
I think the last time there was a scene, was there a little bit of a surge 20 years ago when I was managing that Swedish band, Veins of Jenna. And it seemed like there was a lot of younger bands in the early 2000s that were 20 years old, 18, 20, 22, coming from Sweden and in different countries and playing the strip. And there was a little bit of a surge, but I wouldn't say it's a ghost town, but it's got its highs and lows. And I think it also is all relative to where our mindset is as an older person. And when you say there are people maybe are lazy, maybe it's also because they had kids or they have a serious job now. And when we're all between, everything that was on the decline, everybody on that was between 16 and 30. And 30 being the old people, we were all 20, 22, 24. It's like, job? Who has a job? Rent, there's like 8 of us. It's like $100 each, hardly anybody had a new car. And it's like, what are we going to do tomorrow? I don't know. Cathouse is Tuesday, Exposure's on Sunday, so-and-so's playing Long Beach Arena on Thursday, and so that's where we just ran to it, one thing after another without even thinking twice. Now it's that little thing you see on the internet. What time is it? Is there parking? Who's driving? I want to drive alone. What time can we leave? Oh my God, 10 o'clock. I'm in bed at that time, right? So I think a lot of that stuff happens today in every city, not just Hollywood.
Well, it's not going to happen in Green Bay on March the 6th. I can guarantee you that. That place is going to be packed because there's no two better guys to tell the story of the Sunset Strip scene than these two gentlemen here, and they will be live on stage, of course, with a screening of the Metal Years movie and a live Q&A at the end. And we just want to say thank you, Stevie. Thank you, Riki. Ryan, thanks for sitting there and looking beautiful.
That's all I'm good for, I guess.
But
And
you do it
let
so
you guys
well.
in on a little secret. Riki actually texted me a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "How close is Lambeau? I got to get a photo." So Riki's excited to see Lambeau Field, even though
my favorite. That's baseball, right?
You can walk there, yes.
Riki, you can see the G from our parking lot.
I'm excited. I'm very, very excited. Okay, what do I eat when I get to Green Bay? Because I'm driving there. When I get there, what do I eat?
Oh, come on, Riki. Stevie can answer that. He's from Wisconsin. What are you guys famous for?
I don't know, deep fried cheese curds dipped in
There
ranch
you go,
or something
buddy.
like that.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no cholesterol in that, right?
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. And make sure you eat it right.
You can get really good ones over at Lambeau, the baseball field.
Make sure you eat it right before you go on stage too. It always works the best then. Trust me. So it'll be good. But no, he's exactly right. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to do this. This is the kind of stuff I could listen to you guys talk for hours, and I have a feeling the people that are coming to this thing are, hopefully going to feel the exact same way. And I love that you share different opinions and agree on some things and not on some other things. This is what this is all about. So yeah, I can't wait. So thank you guys for being a part of this and being a part of the show. And couldn't be more excited. March 6th, bringing you guys to Green Bay.
The Decline of Western Civilization Part 2. The Metal Years.